Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep and mastering plural nouns.
Hey there, English learners. Welcome to ML's English Podcast, where we work to make grammar easier, clearer, and honestly, a lot more fun. Today's lesson is all about plural nouns. We're going to break them down, simplify the rules, and make sure you leave here feeling way more confident. So, grab your notebook, get focused, and let's dive right in.
All right, let's start our grammar quest right at the beginning with the absolute foundation. We're talking about the simple difference between having just one of something and having, well, many.
So here's the deal. In English, we say nouns have a number. You've got singular, which just means one of anything, a tree, a book, a girl. And then you have plural, which is for everything else, more than one. So trees, books, girls. Every single rule we're going to learn today builds right on top of this one core idea. Simple, right? Okay, you ready? Here it is. This is your first and, believe it or not, your most powerful tool. For the vast majority of nouns in English, making them plural is about as easy as it gets. You just add one single letter.
Yup, you just add an S. That's it. Seriously, take a look. One boy becomes boys, one book becomes books, and one desk becomes desks. This is the #1 rule, your go-to move for making most nouns plural. Let's call it your first easy win.
All right, so you've got the basic tool down pat. Now it's time to level up. You see, some words need a little extra attention, and it all depends on how they end. Let's see what happens when just adding a simple S isn't quite going to cut it.
Have you ever tried to say classes or boxes? It feels a little weird, doesn't it? Kind of gets stuck in your mouth. And that's the whole point here. We add ES to give the word a whole extra syllable, which makes it so much easier to say. So for any noun ending in S, SH, CH, or X, you're going to want to add ES.
And you can hear the difference immediately. Class becomes classes, brush becomes brushes, watch becomes watches, and box becomes boxes. That little ES ending just makes the plural form flow so much better. It just sounds right.
Okay, let's talk about a tricky one. Nouns that end in O. I'm not going to lie, this is where it gets a little fuzzy, because there are two patterns. Most of the time, you add ES, like with potato turning into potatoes. But for other words, especially ones related to music or technology, you just add an S, like photo to photos or piano to pianos. This is really one of those spots you just get a feel for with practice. Okay, so we've covered a few different endings now. But I bet you're thinking, what about all those words that end in the letter Y? That's a great question, and this one has a very specific rule that's really important to get down.
So here's the pattern. Look at the letter right before the Y. If it's a consonant, like the B and baby, this is what you do. You drop the Y completely, change it to an I, and then add ES. So, baby becomes babies. It's the same exact logic that turns city into cities and story into stories.
So far, we've been looking at rules and patterns. But English, it just loves its exceptions. I like to call these next nouns the rebels of the grammar world. They don't follow the rules. They just go their own way.
Instead of just adding a new ending, these rebels totally transform from the inside out. They form their plural by changing the vowel sound right in the middle of the word.
And here are the most famous rebels right here. Man becomes men. Foot becomes feet. Tooth becomes teeth. These are some of the oldest words in the English language, and they've held on to these unique plural forms for centuries. For these, you pretty much just have to memorize them as their own special group.
And then you've got the sneakiest rebels of them all, the ones that don't change one bit. You can have 1 sheep or 10 sheep, 1 deer or 5 deer. The word stays exactly the same, whether you're talking about one or a whole bunch.
All right, let's get into some real oddballs. These are the nouns that can really trip people up because they just don't behave the way they look. But don't you worry, we are going to sort them out right now. In grammar, looks can be totally deceiving. Over on the left, you've got words that end in S, but are actually treated as singular. For example, mathematics is one subject. The news is good. Then, on the right, you have words that are always plural. Often this is because they're made of 2 parts, like trousers or scissors. And some words, like cattle, are just always a group.
So for these, you'd say the trousers are and the cattle are. Okay, you've learned the basics, you've handled the special endings, and you've met the rebels. Welcome to the master level. Think of this as the final boss in our grammar quest for those of you who want true mastery over plural nouns. For compound nouns, you know those words made of multiple parts? The trick is to find the main or principal word. In commander-in-chief, the most important word is commander, right? That's the part you make plural, so it becomes commanders-in-chief. The same logic works for passer-by. The main word is passer, so it becomes passers-by. And finally, here's something cool. Because English has borrowed words from so many languages, sometimes it borrows their plural forms too. You don't need to memorize all of these, but it's just fascinating to see. A crisis from Latin becomes crises. A phenomenon from Greek becomes phenomena. It's a great little reminder of how rich and diverse the English language really is. So let's quickly pack up your new plural noun toolkit. Number 1 rule, always just add s. Then you've got your key ending rules, like adding es and changing y to ies. Don't forget our rebels, the ones that change their vowels or don't change at all. Watch out for those oddballs that look plural but are singular. And for the master level, always make the main word plural in a compound noun. And with that, our quest is complete. From the simple S all the way to advanced compound nouns, you now have all the tools you need to tackle plurals with confidence. So the real question is, are you ready to use your new grammar powers?
Thanks for tuning in to ML's English Podcast. I really hope today's lesson helped you take one more big step toward mastering English.
If you enjoyed this lesson, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you'll never miss a new one. Have questions or other grammar topics you'd like me to cover next? Drop a comment below. I'm always listening. Until next time, keep